Pisces is a mutable water sign, and it's the last sign of the zodiac, ruled by Neptune, planet of illusion, fantasy, deception, creativity. Pisceans tend to be very dreamy people. I think that most Pisces people actually have some sort of psychic ability. Once I was in a nightclub, and this woman was my cocktail waitress, and she said to me, "You have the most beautiful colors." And upon talking to her about this, I discovered that she could read my aura, but she didn't know that it was called an aura. She just had this ability. And I think a lot of Pisceans are like this. They sometimes know what's going to happen before it happens. They might have dreams that, they are talking to people that have already made their transition. And they can just accept it as par for the course because they don't know anything different. And it's also a part of who they are vibrationally. It's a very dreamy sign, very impressionable sign. I think most Pisceans are empaths. I consider myself an empath, even though I'm not a Piscean. But empaths are people who feel other people's emotions. No, they can walk into a room and they can tell what the energy is like. And for me, it makes it very hard for me to be around other people because I sometimes don't like how I feel. And I feel so much better when I'm alone or if I'm with my partner because I'm more acclimated to his energy and it's soothing to me. It's not a negative, unless, depending on the person's mood. But in general, I fare much better alone than with other people. And I think those who consider themselves indigo children and adults and crystal children and star seeds have this similar tendency. And we have to be very shielding with our energy so that we don't take on other people's too much. But with Pisces, it helps them in the sense that it makes them very compassionate individuals. And so Pisceans tend to be non judgmental. They want to help other people. They like wounded birds, so to speak, that sort of thing. Another thing about Pisceans is that they tend to be very artistic people in one form or another, whether it's making jewelry or sewing or dancing or singing or acting. Pisceans gravitate towards the creative arts. Whether they do it for a living or not isn't really the point. The point is that they like to express themselves in this manner. And I consider creativity to be directly related to spirituality. I am also creative. I'm a writer, and I respect people who dabble in the arts because when you're in the act of creation, it's a spiritual experience. It's like meditation. You're sitting there and you're waiting for ideas to come to you. And you're actually tapping into this universal consciousness when you're doing that. And it's a very relaxing feeling. And it's kind of the opposite of a lot of the worldly activities that other people find entertaining. Because if you think about it, a lot of activities like sports, like competitive sports, are based upon winners and losers. And, art is one of those areas where you can express your essence. And to me, it doesn't have anything to do with, um, you know, being judged for some kind of external thing. It's like you're bearing your soul, really. In terms of shadow aspects of Pisceans, I think one that really stands out to me is a lack of discrimination in who they choose to, befriend or get involved in relationships with. And this is due to that compassionate nature. It's okay to be compassionate, but you do have to be discerning. And you have to also be compassionate about yourself and not allow abusive people into your life. Unfortunately, for some Pisceans, this does not happen and they get embroiled in one or even a series of relationships with people that really are not good for them. And just in general in life, I noticed that some of the really bad actors of the world tend to hook up with people who are really good people. Like there's this like amazing contrast. And I suspect that it's because of that Piscean sentiment about trying to help other people. And in this case, it's loving an unlovable person. And, Piscean might take it upon themselves because intuitively they know that that person is hurting and doesn't feel like anyone loves them. So they get trapped into trying to prove to the person that they do love them. And, you know, a person can only accept love if they have the capacity to love. And some of these people are very damaged individuals, and it isn't possible at that time for them to be able to do that. And instead, they end up abusing the Piscean. And they can do that in many ways, sometimes physically, but sometimes emotionally. And it can be a very bad scene. Another kind of related shadow aspect of Pisces is the tendency towards general self destruction. And Pisces is a very addictive sign in terms of substances. Pisceans love escape because they love fantasy, that Neptunian influence, and they have to be very careful about any kind of drugs, including alcohol. And they do tend to, when they do abuse drugs, they do tend to use downers like alcohol or, tranquilizers, barbiturates, heroin, or other opiates. And this is because, and this is true of all water signs really, because water signs try to numb their feelings because sometimes their feelings are so intense that they can't stand it. And so they want to numb out their feelings. So Pisceans really need to use caution when they are dealing with any mind altering substances. They would do much better avoiding them altogether. One thing that Pisceans have to watch out for is the tendency to be deceptive, indirect. Pisceans are usually kind of passive individuals. They don't like to be direct with people if they have any kind of a problem. They'd rather hint at it or do things around the issue rather than, tackle it head on. And obviously, this can cause problems if they are outright deceptive because they don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings and they are putting another person's needs ahead of their own, because sometimes you have to be an advocate for yourself if there's something wrong. And you know Pisceans can be passive aggressive because of this. you know if they're angry about something and they don't feel they can be honest about it, they might try to hint at it by indirect means. And, there's a communication problem there. So it's something they have to be very careful about when they're interacting with other people so that other people can trust them and respect their wishes. So, anyway, I would love to hear what you guys think about Pisces if you have any additional insights. And I guess I'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.